But money greases the wheels. There's a lot going through Las Vegas.
You have beauty, riches, intrigue, mystery.
Viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas.
Infamous convicted killer, Margaret Rudin.
Margaret Rudin locked up for about 2 decades.
This story is an absolute roller coaster. It's one of those fact is stranger than fiction.
After 4 failed marriages, Ron met Margaret Rudin.
Her millionaire husband.
And deal. That's motive, 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 motive.
Ron was shot and killed. We know that. And then the question is, who's behind it?
Margaret Rudin indicted on murder charges.
A lot of people thought that Margaret Rudin had to be innocent. Others believe that she basically is the most evil person on the face of this earth.
Margaret Rudin, unfazed, stoic, cold.
Killed him for money. Fled the scene.
You spot Margaret Rudin, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Black Widow. That's the persona from the media coverage and the fact that she was charged and convicted of murder.
We find the defendant guilty.
Just out of prison after a 20-year sentence, Margaret Rudin sat down with 2020 to tell her story and talk about how she's still fighting to clear her name.
I am Margaret Rudin Mason. I did not kill Ron. They zeroed in on me.
She's been locked up for the past 20 years for the brutal beheading and murder of her millionaire husband, Ron Rudin.
They had no evidence. They had no witnesses.
Margaret Rudin, dubbed the Black Widow of Las Vegas. Black Widow.
Black Widow.
They stuck the name on me that Black Widow, Black Widow, Black Widow, like I had killed somebody before, or like that I was in the habit. I think that people don't know me. They don't try to know.
Margaret Rudin is a chameleon. She's been a blonde, brunette, and a redhead.
I like change. I'm a Gemini.
She's a chameleon, definitely.
I like to wear wigs. I like short, I like long, I like curly, I like straight. I don't want to look the same way all the time. Even when I sit in front of your cameras, I may look different. But you're still going to know it's me.
I'm Greg Mullinex. I'm an attorney here in Fresno, California, and I represent Margaret Rudin. There's so many holes in this case. After going through all this stuff, considering everything, I'm convinced that Margaret Rudin's innocent. She was wrongly convicted.
Even though it's circumstantial, all the evidence pointed to Margaret Rudin. I'm 100% convinced that Margaret was responsible for Ron's death.
It was a mystery, which, quite truthfully, to this day hasn't been solved.
What happened to Ron? We still don't know. 20 years later, they never checked on anyone but me. I want the truth to come out. I have waited a long time.
This story really starts in Las Vegas in the 1960s.
Got a funny feeling this is going to be a long show, boys.
We're talking old school Vegas where Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack held court in the Sands Hotel, and the mob's tentacles ran deep.
Good old times. It was smooth. Everything is nice and smooth. But underneath that river of calmness was a
point across, so you knew, don't screw with us because we will kill you. It's pretty simple.
It was into this risky, freewheeling environment that 30-year-old Ron Rudin landed in Las Vegas in 1960 with big dreams of making his fortune in real estate.
Ron saw great things that could transpire in Las Vegas back then. I love this picture. It's like he's looking at you, saying, hey, I'm Ron Rudin, and I have a lot of plans for my future.
He bought a strip mall, he had his office right there. But in the 80s and the 90s, when the explosion of construction hit in Las Vegas, that is when he started to make his real fortune.
He watched Las Vegas just explode, and he was part of that with his real estate business.
You could make a killing, and that's exactly what Ron Rudin did.
So this is old Vegas. What was Ron's reputation like around these parts?
Ron's reputation, he had a reputation of being a hard-nosed businessman.
Some people will say that Ron Rudin was unscrupulous, that it was anything at all costs to make money.
He didn't like the glitz and the glitter. Ron Rudin wasn't a casino guy, but he absolutely made a name for himself in Sin City.
He was one of the characters here in Las
That's what he drove, the black Cadillac.
He wasn't afraid to show off that he had made it. He knew he was on top of the pile.
Women were attracted to Ron Rudin, and a lot of it was because of his lifestyle and his money. And he absolutely loved playing the love game.
He had a twinkle. He was very handsome, not just your average handsome. He really stood out.
And when it came to his marriages, Ron went through wives like a casino dealer goes through packs of cards.
Ron Rudin was married a total of 5 times, and each one of those marriages was its own story.
Ron's first marriage in 1962 to wife Donna lasted less than a year. After about an 8-year hiatus, he gets hitched to his second wife, Carolyn. While their marriage eventually failed, Ron kept a bracelet that she gave him with his name on it in diamonds, and he never took that thing off.
Peggy was Ron's third wife, and this one appeared to be a happy marriage. But behind closed doors, Peggy suffered from severe depression, and that depression would manifest itself in the way of suicide. Peggy put a gun to her own head in the couple's bedroom.
The gun that she used to kill herself with had Ron's fingerprints on it. It raised eyebrows. People thought maybe he killed Peggy.
But there was a full investigation into her death, and it was in fact ruled a suicide.
After getting married and splitting up for a 4th time, this time with White Mason.
Well, I had made a joke to one of my friends that went to our church. I had said to her, the very next husband I have is going to wear cowboy boots, because in Vegas, that means they're macho, and I like macho.
Yeah, that's her southern background.
So one day she said, there's a guy over there behind us that keeps looking at you, and he's wearing cowboy boots.
Well, she was very smitten with him.
I tell you, I've never met anybody better and slicker and smarter and suaver than he was.
She just seemed like a really sweet person. And then I started hearing, you know, the other stuff.
She didn't really realize what she had gotten into.
One night, he said to me quietly, what would you say if I told you I murdered Peggy?
Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married.
I think I fall in love too easily. But I don't regret them.
Gee, I really love you.
Margaret would never have a problem finding a husband. It's like Liz Taylor, you know.
I have a thing with men. I want to be needed. I need to be needed. I was born in Memphis. I am the oldest in the family. I have 3 daughters.
Her mother seemed like a really nice, warm person, in contrast with her dad, who I think was a strict religious guy.
We could not wear shorts, wear slacks, cut our hair. You weren't supposed to do anything for pleasure. When Elvis Presley was the rage, he refused to let us watch him on TV because of his gyrations.
She was always traveling and stuff. She went to a bunch of schools, like 10 or 15, something like that.
My father was a barber. He would open a new barber shop, stay there until he got tired of the place, and so we'd move someplace else.
So Margaret settled down and got married.
I was married to Jerry Mason, right out of high school.
She had 2 children, Michael and a daughter, Christina. They lived just north of Chicago along Lake Michigan.
I wanted the white picket fence. We had it. They had the dog, they had the swings, they had all the things that I never had.
She really seemed to have a perfect life, a settled life, until she didn't.
My husband had an affair. I went to real estate school, got my license, and found I could make it on my own. So I did.
But for Margaret, it was hardly one and done when it came to marriage. Over the following years, she would quickly marry and divorce 2 more husbands.
I think I'm easy to be married to because I'm a people pleaser. That's why none of the men in my life ever asked me for a divorce. Not one. I always had to bring it up first.
By 1981, Margaret was looking for a fresh start in life, so she moved to Las Vegas, where she got married and split up with husband number 4. But just 4 months after the divorce, she decides to roll the dice again and marry wealthy Vegas realtor Ron Rudin.
There are a total of 8 combined previous marriages, but from the beginning, it looks promising.
The thing that I liked the most about Ron was he had a very dry wit, and he was fun to be around. Did you want to hear he was the best lover I ever had?
They made a dynamic, good-looking couple. By all rights, they should have had a wonderful life.
For Margaret, she says everything darkened when she moved into Ron's house, which was located right behind the strip mall and his office.
She did not know that the house had not been renovated since Peggy's suicide.
One night, he said to me, quietly, "What would you say if I told you I murdered Peggy?" And I kind of caught my breath, and I didn't know what to say, because if I'd have said, "Yes, I want the details," I would have had to have left. I just said, "No, no, you're not going to relieve your guilt by telling me I don't want to know." He said, "Okay." And we never brought it up again.
From a distance, they look like
It wouldn't be long before Margaret discovers that Ron is having an affair with an IRS agent.
In Margaret's case, she was allegedly having an affair with a man named Yehuda Sharon. He claims to be a former officer in the Mossad, which is Israel's intelligence agency.
We weren't having an affair because I was married. If I hadn't have been married, he wasn't my type.
Sharon also denied there was an affair, but the mutual jealousy and suspicion all came to a head one night when Margaret says she overheard Ron talking to a woman that he dated before they got married.
And we got into an argument because the closest to death I was ever going to get by the look on his face. And I said, "Okay, that's it. I'm out of here." And he said, "No, no, no, you don't have to go. I promise you nothing like that'll ever happen again."
They went and had some counseling. She got to understand him a little bit better. She loved him. She really didn't want to divorce him.
It was Ron that went back to get Margaret. And people believe that Margaret stayed with Ron because she, at this point, was after his money.
I called him, and he says, "Margaret's diagramming out how she's going to split up all my money." And he says, "I'm really getting nervous." I told him, "You better watch your back."
And to add to Ron's worries, at the time, he was knee-deep in a massive real estate development deal that he was struggling to get financing for.
We're up here at the Lee Canyon property that Ron Rudin owned. It's near Mount Charleston. It's about an hour outside of Las Vegas, at about 8,000 feet. And Ron had hoped to make a development up here. And apparently, Ron was expecting an offer on this property.
He had several million invested in this project called the Retreat at Lee Canyon.
Lee Canyon is currently a ski resort, but in the 90s, there were questions raised about how Ron was funding his plans for an RV resort at the location.
Ron, at one point, apparently approached some people that were affiliated with organized crime seeking, money to help develop this place.
Well, he got paranoid. The older he got and the worse he was drinking, and he really started getting paranoid.
Maybe he thought an ominous directive he made about his fortune was about to come true.
Ron almost seemed to predict his fate by putting in his will that if I were to ever die of foul play, look at the people around me who stand to benefit from this fortune.
So that tells you something's not quite right. What would make a man have his attorney draw up a directive that says, in the event that I die under any strange circumstances, my death is to be investigated thoroughly?
I think he was frightened.
In December of 1994, Margaret Rudin was really excited about a new antique business that her husband Ron helped her set up.
December 17th was Margaret's grand opening of her new antique store in Ron's strip mall. It was her big opening that weekend.
Ron came because he kind of played host, like, this is my shop, this is my wife. I was excited about it because Ron was happy and being supportive. I thought it was going to all work out and be perfect.
Margaret leaves the grand opening and goes home. She and Ron had a plan to go to a movie, and that didn't work out, so she decides, let's go back to the antique store.
She said she closed the antique store late, very late. She went over to see another tenant and, just to talk and chat.
Margaret claims she went back home at about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Ron's car wasn't there. The burglar alarm wasn't on. And I thought, well, that's strange. I thought, I'm so tired, I'm just gonna go to bed. Maybe he did go meet somebody.
Next morning, Ron's employees get to the real estate office and there's no sign of Ron Rudin.
Uniformly, all his coworkers and friends said he was in the office every morning, 8 a.m., very dependable. The fact he didn't show up was so unusual.
Ron Rudin is one of these guys who tells people where he is at all times. He is never, ever missing. And now he is.
I knew something he was going to be doing that most people didn't know about. He was selling the Lee Canyon property on Wednesday. So I knew that he might want to see it one last time.
The first thing Margaret did on Monday morning when Ron wasn't home is she called her friend up on the mountain and said, have you seen Ron up there? And Ron used to keep a trailer up here. He would just spend the night in the trailer. And so they searched the whole property, and there was no sign of Ron.
She called all the relatives. She sounded very frightened, and she said, I don't know where Ron is. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happened to him.
I called missing persons the 19th, and the cop said, call us back when it's been 48 hours.
Ron's coworkers and friends were immediately suspicious of Margaret.
I call in the morning, the secretary says he didn't come in this morning. I says, uh-oh. I turned to my wife. I says, I think Margaret did something to Ron.
And detectives did a cursory search of the shop and the house. At that time, they didn't find anything that would give them, cause to investigate any further. When the detectives talked to her, she didn't seem to be worried about Ron being missing. She seemed to be more concerned about his finances.
The suspicion only grew after investigators learned about that ominous directive that Ron added to his trust.
Ron wrote in his will that if any of his beneficiaries were involved in his death, either directly or indirectly, that they should receive nothing.
The will that if I die a violent death, take extraordinary means to investigate. So certainly there's a lot of motive there for Margaret.
The police think this was about money, and that Margaret was greedy and she wanted his fortune.
Margaret and the two trustees of Ron's estate were among the beneficiaries. According to Ron's attorney, Ron said Margaret was becoming, quote, vicious and violent. Without naming Margaret specifically, in 1991, Ron executed that secret directive to the trustees. 2 years later, though, things between them seemed to have improved, so Ron increased her share.
Well, he increased it finally, I think it was 60%. And you generally don't give more to people that you're having a problem with.
Because the cops were so focused on Margaret right out of the gate, they may have been overlooking another possible motive in Ron's disappearance, that huge Lee Canyon development project.
Now, this deal that he was working on, he disappeared 2 days before he was due to settle. Well, that's motive.
And so that was one of the theories early on in the case, is that perhaps that dealing, that purchase, was perhaps behind the killing of Ron Rudin.
Ron Rudin is missing for 4 days, and then a huge development.
We heard that they found his Cadillac.
This is the Crazy Horse 2 Gentlemen's Club here in Las Vegas. And the significance of this place is right behind this building is where Ron Rudin's car was found.
Was there anything unusual about the condition of the car when they found it?
Yes, it was backed into space for one thing, and then it was covered with dirt and mud, and like it had been rained on in the dirt. And then inside the vehicle, they found 4 sets of muddy footprints. Ron was very meticulous with his car. He even hired a guy to keep his car clean.
Now, I never believed that Ron had driven the Cadillac to the Topless Club. I always believed that it was placed there by someone that was involved.
There were muddy footprints in the car, and they recovered fingerprints that didn't belong to either Ron or Margaret. It might be an indication that, the car was clean.
Police also find clothing in the trunk. Despite all of these clues, weeks would then go by, and no more leads.
Have you seen this man? He's Ron Rudin, a 64-year-old realtor well known in Las Vegas.
In January of 1995, the trustees of Ron's estate put out a $25,000 reward for information leading to his whereabouts.
And he was gone. No one ever saw him again until he was found.
And a little ways up the hill, they found a bracelet, and it spelled out Ron in like diamonds.
When this happened, it was kind of a big deal.
Okay, here we are about 60 miles southeast of Las Vegas, near Lake Mojave, at a place called Nelson's Landing. And this is where, on January 23rd of 1995, in the middle of the night, some fishermen were walking back up after it started raining, and they walked up in this area.
Well, that was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking, to think of him that way.
So, Greg, what else was found up there?
Okay, well, Ryan, you're standing by where they found Ron's remains, most of them, and then up here was Ron's gold bracelet, and it was unique because it had his name Ron, R-O-N, spelled out in diamonds.
And that bracelet was Ron Rudin. There it was, Ron, written right on it.
They found the burned out old trunk. There was some belts, metal belts that had wrapped around the trunk.
What we believe is the body in the trunk had been placed there.
To tell a story. The skull, the bracelet, the Cadillac, it's all left there intentionally. You know what? It's an old mob movie. They automatically assume when a spouse is killed, the other spouse is guilty. Of course they should have investigated Margaret, but their total focus should not have been on Margaret.
And that trunk they found at the crime scene, they're convinced it came from Margaret's antique shop.
The trunk did become crucial because humpback trunk at the store.
So I'm thinking about Margaret. She's slim, maybe, I don't know, 120 pounds.
Right.
In your mind, would it have been possible for her to dump the body here?
I don't think so. I think it would be difficult for a strong man to do it because you're talking about way up there on the hill and then dragging everything down.
I don't think that Margaret could have loaded the body in a trunk by herself. I think there was someone that helped her.
And they come up with her supposed boyfriend, Yehuda Sharon. So what they do is put both of them under surveillance.
The theory was that Margaret shot him while he slept. and that she called Yehuda and asked him to help.
He had rented his van, and he had taken the back seat out. And therefore the theory was that somehow Margaret got Sharon involved in moving the body.
Sharon's story was he was going to go to his part-time job in California. He ended up turning around and coming back to Las Vegas.
When you look at how much mileage Sharon had put on that rented van, could his story that he went partway to California be true, or did he go to Nelson's Landing? Either's possible.
Yeah, Mr. Sharon had an alibi.
He claimed he had nothing to do with it, and his girlfriend at the time told investigators that she was with him the weekend that Ron was reported missing. It all checked out.
There's no proof of Yehuda's involvement in this. He portrayed this as a witch hunt, you know, that they were out to get Margaret and he got sucked into this.
I have no proof of that. I'm convinced that he had far more knowledge than he let on.
You can see how they looked at things and they tried to fit it in their narrative. Oh, well, she has an antique store. He rented a van. Oh, he must have been involved in it, even though he had an alibi.
Call from a handyman who told a remarkable story.
Augustine Lovato tells investigators how he was hired by Margaret Rudin to clean up their home. That information would actually lead to Augustine Lovato receiving a $25,000 reward. He thought potentially was blood.
When he talked about it, he could hear this gurgling. It's a drain. You put it in, it drains out. You can find blood afterwards, fine, but it's not going to be gurgling 4 days later or an hour later.
What's awfully strange that your missing persons detectives were out here. They didn't see any blood. How did Lovato see something that wasn't there however many days before?
She hired Lovato to remodel the bedroom, but Ron was still just a missing person at that time. It wasn't a homicide case.
He tells police that while Ron was missing, Margaret hired him to make some changes in the house.
I wasn't renovating the house. I knew I was going to need a way to make a living if he didn't come back, so that I could support myself. I decided I could open a tea shop that I had already talked to Ron about, and everything in there was going to be antiques that I could sell. I wish I'd have been able to do it. It would have been a success. The trustees had left me with no choice.
They cut off Margaret's money. She was getting a small paycheck from Ron's business. They cut that off.
The trustees named in Ron's will justify it by saying they're simply carrying out Ron's specific directive, that no one gets any money who caused his death by violent means.
It was really, really petty. After Ron's disappearance, they immediately took over the trust. By New Year's Eve, they had already cut me out of everything. I no longer have my shop in Ron's property, so they were letting me have a message. They were in control, and they intended to make me penniless, and they succeeded.
There's no forensics that ever puts Margaret.
Piece of physical evidence that investigators desperately need miraculously shows up.
It's 1 year after Ron's death, and Margaret is fighting two big battles. One, the trustees of her husband's estate, his $12 million estate, are keeping her from getting any money. Secondly, she's under suspicion for murder.
And she's just being bled dry. I mean, she's got no income. They're trashing her name everywhere.
The newspapers even were saying, first time a murder case is going to be settled in a civil trial against Margaret Rudin.
It was right before she was to testify. From a criminal perspective, we were really looking forward to her testimony. That was going to be very, very telling.
If the trustees can convince the civil courts that she, Margaret, in fact is responsible for the death of her husband, she will not be entitled to any of the $12 million.
Ron trusted me. He wanted me to have a part of the inheritance because each time that he redid his trust, he increased my percentage by 20%. He would not have kept increasing the percentage if he had any doubts about me whatsoever, or if we had a bad marriage. He wouldn't have.
The battle ends up just basically fizzling out. Margaret ends up settling for $600,000. And if you take out the $429,000 that she owes her attorneys, far cry from the millions that she was set to inherit if indeed he had died of natural causes or she wasn't under any suspicion.
This was a very tricky investigation, and the police struggled for a long time to discern exactly how Ron was murdered. And they suspected he'd been shot while he was sleeping, but they never had the murder weapon.
This lake has changed a lot since 1994 when Ron disappeared. And out here is where they found the gun. This is Lake Mead, and this is Pyramid Island. July 21st of 1996. Scuba divers used to have scuba schools here. And so one day, some scuba divers noticed some debris 10 to 15 feet out from the shore. They swam down there and brought it out, and it was a .22 caliber gun with a built-in silencer. And it was wrapped
to police.
Now here's the thing. The gun sat in police storage for about a year.
It's now 1997, 2 years after the murder of Ron Rudin. There is still no indictment against Margaret. One of the detectives remembers, we need to look at that gun found in Lake Mead.
In the actual crime scene itself.
The problem with that is they can't connect the murder weapon to Margaret. They can't ever put the gun in Margaret's hand.
Doesn't stop investigators from trying to do so. Ron had actually sent a letter to police saying, hey, one of my guns from my gun collection is missing. But what it did do was lead police to believe that it must have been Margaret who took that gun that was then missing.
Ron had left a report with ATF indicating that that gun had turned up missing about the time that he and Margaret had separated.
I think it's a stretch to argue that
he had at least 1,000 guns in there. Thomas machine guns from the 30s, shelves that were at angles so you could see every single one of them clearly in view.
It was the firearm recovered at the bottom of Lake Mead that pushed this thing over the edge.
Ron's car found at the Crazy Horse, the trunk found in the desert, the handyman story, none of it was enough to indict Margaret Rudin. But now there's a gun. And it's a gun they believe was the one used to kill Ron, taken by Margaret.
Now they have what they've been trying to get for years.
I think with that, that was the piece that they felt that they needed to go to the grand jury. We found the gun. And then 3 years after the disappearance of Mr. Rudin, Margaret is indicted.
Here comes the interesting part now. They called Margaret's attorney, and they said, hey, guess what? We got a murder warrant for Margaret, and we need her to turn herself in. And the attorney promptly said, I don't know where she is. She's disappeared.
We thought no.
Police were flabbergasted.
Sometime toward the end of March of 1997, Margaret finally got fed up with everything. She was running out of money, couldn't get a job because she was the Black Widow of Las Vegas. Well, she left before she was ever indicted, and there's no crime about leaving and going anywhere if you're not under indictment.
Margaret got scared. She could tell it wasn't going in a good direction for her.
At that time, I think I was so ready for a nervous breakdown, I didn't think that far ahead. Just wanted to get out of Vegas.
She went on the lam.
You spot Margaret Rudin, call our hotline.
She outsmarted all of them. She knew how to stay alive.
And if I told you what happened next, you wouldn't believe it.
They automatically assume when the spouse is killed, the other spouse is guilty. love makes the world go round, but money greases the wheel.
There's no sign of Ron Rudin.
And he was gone.
Margaret Rudin, dubbed the Black Widow of Las Vegas.
The Nevada Black Widow.
They never checked on anyone but me.
You spot Margaret Rudin, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
She had at least 2, if not 3 wigs. And then we came across several IDs.
She went on the lam. She outsmarted all of them.
Hoogie, how often could you be that lucky?
Margaret just doesn't know that luck is going to run out.
42 years. That is the worst trial that I've ever had.
You were wrong doing that. It's unfair to Mrs. Rudin, Judge. Listen to me.
They had no evidence. They had no witnesses.
There's no fingerprints, DNA, no forensics.
It was a circus.
My right side. Whole body would have to go this way.
I made a ruling and it sticks.
This was just a travesty of justice, and I was part of that travesty. And it's the biggest regret of my life. It really is.
Sometimes what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Sometimes it goes on the run.
Why would you flee if you were innocent?
Guadalajara is a city in western Mexico known for its tequila and its mariachi music. Its historic center is dotted with plazas and beautiful landmarks. In 1997, a middle-aged woman in a dark wig was seen frequenting the old Colonial Plaza. That woman,
1994.
Police instantly zero in on Margaret. They believe they've got a solid case. But it's only after police finally have what they believe to be is the murder weapon are they able to charge Margaret Rudin with murder.
Everything that had gone wrong, the way it was handled by the police and the prosecutors, and I got really scared. I did not feel comfortable anymore because they can do whatever they want to do with somebody's life. I wasn't going to get a chance to prove myself.
She did call me and say they think that I did it. She always said she did not do it. She never admitted that I know of that she was guilty. And she ran.
When Margaret fled, it cemented public opinion, right? People thought she was guilty, right? Why would you flee if you were innocent?
I left for, I thought, a better life than what I had in Vegas. I wanted peace of mind. Mexico, they don't care where you're from. They don't pay attention to you.
Once Margaret ends up in Guadalajara, she finds an apartment in a building with mostly other Americans, and she sort of works into the fabric of the downtown atmosphere of this Mexican city.
I love Mexico. I like their way of life. Nobody knew me. And I thought, this is a good place to live.
Meanwhile, back in the U.S., Margaret may have been gone, but she was not forgotten. She was on the FBI's most wanted list.
This is going to be a true test for Margaret Rudin. 53 years old, no criminal record. She has to figure out how to survive life on the run.
I don't know how she did it. I really don't.
Well, one would think she had help, or that she had studied it very, very closely.
One useful tool that Margaret has always possessed is her charm. Men do like her. So what happens next is practically the making of a movie of the week. She meets a guy who claims to be a Spanish bank robber, also on the run.
Oh, it was great. He was a wonderful companion. He was not my boyfriend. He taught me how to be a fugitive. The number one thing is always have a bag packed. Have money, ID, clothes. Make sure you have whatever it is you need the most in that bag.
Margaret becomes this master of disguise, with different aliases, wearing different wigs. She even had colored contacts. But eventually, she decided she was ready to come back to the U.S.
Life on the run's not what it's cracked up to be, right? It's a tough existence. You want to live in Mexico under an alias, scrapping it out, or will you take your chances coming back to the United States?
I had friends that came to visit me in Mexico, and then they asked me if I wanted to come back. and live with them in Phoenix. Once you have children and grandchildren, you cannot go somewhere else and live and act like you're having a normal life.
Margaret has to figure out a way to safely get back into the United States. So once again, she uses her charm and convinces a gentleman who lives in the same apartment building in Guadalajara to help her.
Joe Lundergan was a Boston fireman, retired. Very, very, very needy. He was never my boyfriend. I have never been that desperate in my life. I said, I've decided I'm going back to the States. And he said, I will get you across the border. We got to the border where you're on U.S. territory. And I said, oh, okay, go. You can both go.
Margaret and Joe Lundergan part ways. He heads back home to the Boston area, and she settles into a new life in Phoenix, assuming yet another identity using the name of her friend.
Margaret is in Phoenix. She's gotten herself a room at the YMCA. She once worked in the hotel business. So that's a bit of a resume, and she uses it to get a job at the San Carlos Hotel.
My poor manager, he used to say, if you ever tell me you're going to quit, I'll kill you. And I knew I was going to have to quit at some point.
Margaret was the subject of as high-profile a case as you'll ever get.
What could drive a woman to murder? Love? Sex? Money? Well, for the woman in our next case, you're going to have to answer that question yourself.
And she was repeatedly on America's Most Wanted. And she was the Black Widow, right? This was the label. Where's the Black Widow? Have you seen Margaret Rudin?
You spot Margaret Rudin, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV.
Someone that she worked with saw the America's Most Wanted and said, hey, that's Annette. And she called the tip line and the police officers responded.
So the cops showed up at my door and said, somebody thinks you are so-and-so and we need to see your ID. And I had gone the day before and got legit Arizona ID with my picture on it, you know. And they said, let me check it in the computer. Came back and said, nothing there. So they left. I picked up my bag, called a limo service, which we used at the hotel, and I said, would you please pick me up on the side entrance? So the limo took me to where I wanted to go, and I was a fugitive again. It is funny. I mean, how often could you be that lucky?
It's time for another chapter in Margaret's life on the run, and she heads east.
But then a pizza delivery man shows up at Margaret Rudin's door. Is he there to deliver an end to her lucky streak?
Revere, Massachusetts is a community that's just 6 miles north of Boston.
It's a blue-collar community, very diverse, and with USA's oldest beach is Revere Beach.
This area was kind of known as the Boston mob community. This is where they operated in that general vicinity.
No one asked many questions in Revere.
Margaret barely makes it out of Phoenix when she hears from a friend that Joe Lundergan needs her help.
And Joe said, I have 2 knee surgeries and hip surgery. And would you ask Margaret if she would come take care of me?
Margaret is able to, in Revere, carve out a new life on the run.
Margaret lived in a kind of a rundown little apartment. You had to walk up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. It was kind of grimy and dirty and dark. It was so different than her life of luxury in Las Vegas.
Her new name is Lee Brown.
The other one was Susan Simmons, and she had at least 2, if not 3 wigs, and she wore them frequently.
You know, it wasn't to be deceptive in any way. It's just my sense of style.
People of Revere, they all liked Margaret, right? She was real popular.
I first met Margaret back in October of '99. I'd do photocopies for her. Then she would bring me in some IDs, and I would laminate them for her. And she was very pleasant, really nice.
I really like Massachusetts. I like the people. They're very honest and sincere and forthright.
Even on the run, for Margaret, there's always time for romance. Turns out Margaret's got a new boyfriend. He's a younger guy who lives in the same building as Margaret, but one floor down.
The idea that she is the focus of an international woman hunt.
You spot Margaret Rudin, call our hotline of 1-800-CRIME-TV.
But then also live a somewhat normal life is uncanny.
But when you're on the lam, it's the little things that get you. One of Margaret's seemingly mundane activities proves to be her undoing. She goes frequently to the Revere post office.
And they got a tip, hey, this woman looks like the fugitive that's being broadcast on America's Most Wanted.
They got a tip that Margaret Rudin was in fact mailing packages from a Revere post office. So we immediately went over to the post office and showed her picture. Post office people said, yeah, that's her. That's her, and she lives right over there.
And that's how they found me.
November 5th, 1999. The team got together and decided to position ourselves around here.
They came up with kind of a unique sting operation to pry her out, which was a law enforcement officer posed as a pizza delivery man.
We had Officer Joe Peppert on a Domino's shirt, a Domino's hat. We all went up the stairs, gained peaceful entry, filed up the stairs to her apartment, which is on the second floor, and proceeded to knock on the door.
When they said, pizza man, and I went to Joe's bedroom and I said, answer the door.
And as soon as the door opened, we rushed in, and the first person I came to was Mr. Lundgren. I pat him down really quickly, shifted him, and passed him to the next guy.
They came in like gangbusters. They're coming down this narrow hallway, and they're coming in with their guns drawn.
There's a entrance to a bathroom. We open the door, and we see a female in there.
All I did was step back into the door of the bathroom. And immediately, he was a highway patrolman. He was a wonderful young man. He came in, and he said, are you Margaret Rudin? I said, of course I am. You know I am.
I said to her, you know what this is about, Margaret? She goes, yeah, this is about Las Vegas. At that point, she was placed in handcuffs with no issues whatsoever. This would be a good example of how she looked upon her arrest. And then she had all her things scattered all over the room, to include wigs. And then we came across several IDs. She took deliberate, proactive measures to conceal her identity.
People of Revere were absolutely stunned beyond belief when it came out that she was wanted for murder in Las Vegas.
This doesn't jive with the person that I knew. The pleasantness of her, that's not something that you could hide. I don't know, I tend to have my doubts.
Margaret Rudin's run from the law ended in Revere, indicted more than 2 years ago for the 1994 murder of her husband, Las Vegas realtor Ron Rudin.
Now that she's caught, she's the focus of everybody's attention.
Margaret Rudin's fugitive days were over, but not her efforts to escape justice.
And they're bringing her from Massachusetts back to Las Vegas.
It sells papers. It keeps the hoopla going.
This is what Margaret Rudin looked like when corrections officers booked her Sunday morning.
They convict somebody before they're ever setting foot into a courtroom.
And now all this anticipation is building as day one in the courtroom is on the horizon.
You would be relieved, to find out if in fact she really did it. And we would find out in court. And we could see it whenever we wanted to.
There's a lot here at stake. Margaret's life is at stake.
But would Margaret's fate hinge on the testimony of a surprising witness for the prosecution? Her own sister.
What did Margaret respond?
She said, I don't give a
When you think of Las Vegas, you think of all that sizzle on the Strip. Now it's all moved to the Clark County Courthouse, where Margaret Rudin is about to face trial for murder.
March 2nd, 2001, it is time for the Rudin trial.
Adding to the drama inside the courtroom, this trial would make its way into living rooms across America. It was put on cable television.
Good morning and welcome to Open Court here on Court TV.
I think this was the first trial to go gavel to gavel on Court TV.
State of Nevada versus Margaret Rudin.
The world is watching as this woman who has been on the run, accused of murder, is now sitting in the defendant's chair.
I did not know the magnitude until trial started.
There's a lot riding on the case, and I remember really feeling the weight of that case.
I've never talked about the Margaret Rudin case.
The state ready to proceed? Yes, Your Honor.
They hand me the file, and he says, this is going to be a tough one.
Mr. Owens.
In opening statements, the prosecution portrays Margaret to the jury as a ruthless, greedy woman who will do anything to get her husband's millions.
The evidence will show at the time of Ronald Rudin's death, Margaret Rudin was a 60% beneficiary of that properties and assets that were in that trust.
And in comes Michael Amador.
All right, Mr. Amador.
In his opening statement, defense attorney Michael Amador raises a lot of eyebrows when he seems more intent on talking about himself rather than his client.
I could be a wonderful, caring father, coaching soccer and basketball and helping kids with homework and doing all those things.
It was hours of rambling and talking about himself.
This is a great day for me. This is a culmination of a career.
The purpose of a opening statement is just to indicate what the evidence is going to tend to show and not go into your personal beliefs and your passion and your soccer dad. I never heard that in an opening statement in my life.
I remember minutes into the opening statement of the defense saying to my co-counsel, hey, give me a cigarette, this thing's over. And I don't smoke.
Things started out bad and they went to worse by the first day.
Prosecutors lay out their case that Margaret shot.
But the place for what?
What type of a scene was this?
Suicide.
And could you tell the jury where that was?
In the bedroom.
In the middle of the trial, this astounding revelation comes to light when the jurors learned that Ron Rudin's third wife, Peggy, had actually shot herself in the head.
Reported to the ATF that the gun went missing from his collection back in 1988, right at the time that Margaret was moving out of the house.
A year into the marriage when they were having the divorce problems.
That gun had turned up missing about the time that he and Margaret had separated, and he believed that she had taken the gun.
If she somehow is so clever that she's kept this gun under lock and key such that no one knows where it is, she brings it out right to the place where it could be found. And that's what you have to believe beyond a reasonable doubt.
One of the major pieces that the state honed in on was to Margaret Rudin.
And to help make that connection, the prosecution calls Bruce Honeback. He's an antiques dealer who claimed he sold the trunk to Margaret.
Can you tell me when it was that you sold this particular trunk to Margaret Rudin?
At the very beginning of our relationship.
So, late spring, early summer?
Yes, sir.
Of 1994?
Yes, sir.
Investigators always believed that Margaret had helped transporting that trunk, and they pointed the finger at her suspected paramour, Yehuda Sharon. In what looks to be a major nail in the proverbial coffin of Margaret's case, Yehuda Sharon is called to the stand as a prosecution witness.
Yehuda, okay, check this out. They told him, we're going to charge you with the same murder that we're charging her with. However, if you flip, we'll give you total immunity. Now, what's up with that?
I know that I received immunity. From what? I have no idea.
Did you kill Ron Rudin?
No, I did not.
Did you help kill Ron Rudin?
No, I did not.
Did you help dispose of his body?
No, I did not.
Did you go up to Nelson's Landing in December of 1994?
No, I did not.
And it still baffles me to this day. How do you give him immunity and you don't know what he's going to testify to?
No charges were ever brought against Sharon.
It turns out that the attempt to get something out of Yehuda Sharon just fizzled. The prosecution now puts a lot of its hopes on the next witness, Margaret's sister Donna.
Why is it that you testify as you have today?
Because it's the truth. Because I felt it's what I had to do.
Donna wasn't my friend. She never had been my friend. She's very difficult, and I don't trust her any further than I can throw her.
Donna testified about how she helped Margaret take financial documents from Ron's desk.
Donna's not finished. She tells the jury that the day after Ron went missing, Margaret said to her, you know, I talked to the police about Ron in the past tense.
I said, I hope that doesn't mean that you know something.
And what did Margaret respond?
She said, I don't give a.
And the surprises and curveballs just keep coming.
Early in the trial, Amador drops this bombshell.
The problem here is not a lack of diligence on the part of myself and my staff, but insufficient time to fully prepare the entire case, or the time and the funds to fully investigate and interview all of the witnesses. The issue is Margaret Rudin's right to a fair trial.
Astoundingly, Michael Amador, the defense attorney, asks the judge to declare a mistrial.
I will also be moving to withdraw as attorney of record on behalf of Margaret Rudin.
Michael Amador wasn't who he said he was. One thing that I've learned over the years, you better have a voice because you can't depend on somebody else.
The trial is not a perfect thing. Ms. Rudin has not been denied her rights under the Constitution. Based upon the foregoing, the motion for mistrial is denied.
But the closing act of this three-ring circus of a trial was yet to come. Tom Pitaro takes over as lead defense attorney, and he pulls a stunt that will make jaws drop in the courtroom again.
So you have to go shoot here, either bang, bang, 1 or 2 times, correct?
Yes.
Bang, bang.
I sort of blew up on that.
I made a ruling and it sticks.
The jury in this case has seen all kinds of craziness, and it's not over yet. Now the defense wants to recreate the actual crime scene in the middle of the courtroom.
So the whole body would have to go this way to get the head now facing the back.
Well, the idea was to demonstrate to the jurors.
Listen to me. You better not start yelling, Mr. Pitaro. I made a ruling and it sticks.
Not at all. I sort of blew up on that. I says, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It was a circus.
Well, yeah, you know, he got upset a few times. But that's what he gets paid for.
After over 9 weeks, the prosecution and the defense finally rest in one of the longest trials in Vegas history, sending jurors off to deliberate.
The real nasty, down-and-out fight doesn't happen in the courtroom. The real fight starts in the jury room.
I'm Ron Vest. I was the foreman on the Ron Rudin millionaire murder trial.
Ron Vest, yeah. Very overbearing, but he was very angry because he actually felt on that first day of deliberation that he'd be home by dinner. According to Ron, this case was a slam dunk, and it really wasn't.
This thing was a slam dunk with a stepladder. I mean, it just was. And when you start adding up who had the means, who had the motive, who had the opportunity to do it, there's only one person. And then we had the lone holdout. She couldn't point to evidence as to why Margaret didn't.
There's your reasonable doubt. We went through 6 days of deliberation where I was not budging.
The foreman wanted me to dismiss juror number 11 because she was the only holdout. And I said, no, her actions weren't such that she needs to be excused. And if it's going to be a hung jury, so be it.
Ms. Rudin, will you stand up, please? Have you arrived at a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
It was packed courtroom. Cameras were rolling.
There was a lot of suspense because the jury had been out for quite a while.
Oh, it's tense. It was really tense.
I can remember standing up and reading the charges, and then I sit on the count 2 and murder count in the first degree. We find the defendant And I can remember pausing briefly and symbolically.
We find the defendant guilty.
When the verdict was read, you hear somebody sobbing. That was me. Because I caved. And all I could do was look up at Tom Patero and Margaret Rudin and mouth, I'm sorry. I'm very ashamed of myself that I let that happen. It's the biggest regret of my life. It really is.
When they came back saying guilty of all counts, I was surprised. I was surprised at that. You know, juror number 11 should have stuck to her guns.
When she came out guilty, you know, we were all relieved, you know, that she was going to go to prison.
Margaret Rudin was looking at me when I said guilty, because I know she did it. And she didn't even blink.
It was a blackout. It's sort of like when the cops came to tell me about Ron, and then your mind goes, I can't take anymore. I don't know how to take it.
The court sentences you to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole.
None of this ever had to happen. What no one really knew at the time, except for a handful of people, was that Margaret Rudin was offered plea deals multiple times.
There had been so many issues with regards to the trial itself that we were concerned about, you know, what would happen with appeals.
They, being the prosecution, were going to give her credit for time served.
I think I even told her, I said, so you do another year and a half, and you'd be out of custody. She didn't hesitate one bit. Oh, no, Judge, I'm innocent. I'm not taking any deal. I can't plead to something I didn't do.
5 times I was offered a plea deal. I never considered, I'm not going to admit it. I don't care if I'm 110 and I'm still waiting. I'm not going to admit to something I didn't do.
And that takes a lot of chutzpah.
Even afterwards, one of the prosecutors came up to me and said, you know, I'll still give it to you.
Dumbfounded that she rejected the offer.
Okay, then. Maybe she is innocent. Wow, Margaret. I honestly don't know what to say to that. I really don't. That's unbelievable.
She went out to the Florence McClure prison out in the Smiley Road. It's on the outskirts of Las Vegas.
Smiley Road. Who would put a women's prison on Smiley Road? What a sense of humor.
She wasn't being broken by the system. She had the belief that she was going to get through it.
It hardens you. You know, the only way you can bear a lot of the things is you have to only think about what's good still.
One person who reached out to Margaret in prison was holdout juror Corinne Kovacs. She had befriended and written Margaret during her long prison stint.
The catalyst for me was I needed to personally apologize to this woman for what I felt was my fault. You know, the travesty was my fault.
As the years went by, there were lingering questions of whether or not she actually got a fair trial.
This was a show. I mean, it was just terrible. And could she have received a fairer trial? Yeah, she could have received a fairer trial and better defense counsel, but what do you do?
42 years, that is the worst trial that I've ever had. The only regret I have, should I have allowed a mistrial in the very beginning because of Mike Amador? It might have had a different outcome for Margaret Rudin.
But now, 20 years after her conviction, could unsolved mysteries about Ron Rudin's death finally lead to Margaret's name being cleared?
There was 4 sets of footprints, buddy footprints in the car. They never established whose footprints they are. There's all sorts of questions, and who are the 4 people in that car?
This case is still pending. I don't know if you know that. Tune in for the next chapter.
She wants to prove she did not do it. Wow.
Even behind bars, Margaret Rudin was insistent she was innocent. She files an appeal to have her conviction.
And she said, yeah, as ineffective as this is the counsel, I'm going to grant this and grant a new trial. Well, there you go.
But then 2 years later, the Nevada Supreme Court reversed that decision over a legal technicality.
I was just looking at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals website and saw one that involved a murder in Las Vegas, and I thought, well, that looks kind of interesting. I just started getting mad, and I started reading it over again because I couldn't believe it. So I went out there and met her, and then I agreed to represent her if she got a new trial.
There's no fingerprints, DNA, no forensics that puts her at the crime scene. She's not stupid enough to kill Ron Rudin in the bedroom of their home, put him in a trunk from her antique store, haul him out and burn him and leave him.
I would really like to be able to exonerate my name. Yes, I have the energy to sit through another trial. Innocent. I would be proven innocent.
Margaret appealed again, and the case is currently pending, waiting for a federal judge to make a ruling on whether she gets a new trial.
Why are you convinced that she didn't do it?
Because the physical evidence just doesn't add up. They didn't have a strong enough lead defense attorney to challenge all the evidence that was admitted.
Margaret had taken the gun and used it to kill him.
She had an opportunity to take the weapon in '88, and she probably just kept possession of it for all those years.
Or taken by person or persons unknown during my wife's packing her furniture and
Testified, he sold the trunk to Margaret.
Can you tell me when it was that you sold this particular trunk to Margaret Rudin?
Right at the very beginning of our, at the very beginning of our relationship.
So here we got a guy that supposedly sold her the trunk. To me, that was one of the bigger factors in the conviction.
It turns out the guy who originally sold the witness that trunk came.
He said, we carry roller skates in. He said, that's it. And I said, Bruce, that little case is too small to put a cadaver in.
But the jury didn't hear from that man until after the defense had rested. Mullinex contends by that time what he had to say was ineffective.
We didn't know it at the time. That's where the problems were. We were finding facts out as they were coming, and as an attorneys, you know the facts, and you're able to defend against them. Quite truthfully, if we had that testimony at Vint, they never would have spent all the time talking about trunks.
Mysteries surrounding Ron's murder that remain unanswered a quarter of a century later, including the riddle of what was found inside Ron Rudin's abandoned Cadillac.
There was 4 sets of footprints, muddy footprints in the car. They never established whose footprints they are. They also found clothes in the trunk of the car. Those clothes were never tested for DNA. Instead of
Still gotta have the proof somewhere. Bring it out. Let's have it under DNA standards today.
Even former prosecutor Gary Guyman says that there were investigative avenues that weren't fully pursued, like that huge Lee Canyon real estate deal Rudin was working on that was set to close just days after he went missing.
Yeah, I always believed there was fodder in the Lee Canyon business dealings, but it never got developed. And there's just seems like there's so much left in the process.
He was involved with some very wide assortment of not so nice people. And when they found a body out there at the lake, I mean, for me, that just kind of has mob written all over it.
I just hope that the court in Las Vegas would order a new trial and that this matter could be settled. The chances, I don't know. It's up to a judge right now.
Okay, but this is Vegas. Would you say the odds are in your favor?
I would say the odds should be in our favor because, remember, Margaret was granted a new trial back in 2008.
Infamous convicted killer Margaret Rudin, dubbed the Black Widow of Las Vegas, has just been let out of prison.
Margaret Rudin's life is about to change drastically. What lies ahead does not involve handcuffs, bars, or prison guards.
Oh my God, more than one time did I say to her on the phone, you're gonna get out, and the day you are, I'm gonna be there.
Juror Corinne Kovacs. She had befriended and written Margaret during her long prison stint.
Wow. Am I going to get to see you later?
That was wonderful. It was high time, but you could see that being in prison took a toll, because this was she's a very pretty woman.
After her release, Margaret moved back to the Chicago area. Now she's 77 years old.
The world had changed. Life had changed. My children had changed. I'm living alone for the first time probably in my life. It's a serious adjustment. I knew nothing about Facebook or smartphones or computers or the way of life that's just so taken for granted now.
She's a great grandmother now. She's spending time with her daughter, her granddaughter, great-granddaughters.
And now if I had my life to live over again, I would stay right here in Illinois and never, ever have subjected my kids or myself to Vegas, all of the things that influenced my life as I got into the relationship with Ron Rudin. I miss him. I look at the pictures now and think I wish he was here.
I wish I had had more pictures with my husband.
I think because of the details of the murder, how heinous it was, and because it was motivated by money, by greed, that personally I think she should have stayed behind bars.
I did not kill Ron. And I have no fear of meeting God and saying, I did not. I'm not going to have my children or my grandchildren live with that. Look at her. Her mother did it. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. God and I know.
What could make me crumble, you know, she would be strong enough to, you know, to stand up to.
Kelsey Schelling's face is on billboards in Pueblo, and volunteers have combed through the area she was last seen.
And now, since she's gone, you know, I've had to turn into a fighter.
She's the strongest mom I know, who fights for their kid like this.
It was like, maybe she'll call. Maybe she's out there, you know?
The pregnant woman who vanished. Kelsey was 8 weeks pregnant, last seen in Pueblo, visiting her boyfriend. Friends and family would get text replies back, but they said that it just didn't quite sound like Kelsey.
I did have a sinking feeling in my stomach.
This unknown man is seen walking to Kelsey Schelling's car and is seen driving away with the car.
I mean, we're trying everything. Breaks my heart.
Almost 2 years after Kelsey's disappearance, a mysterious message giving everyone hope comes through that Help Find Kelsey Facebook page.
It was saying, if I have information about Kelsey, can I remain anonymous?
When Laura responds, a man emails her saying, "Ma'am, please, your daughter is not dead."
It was just the fear of what if she is still out there somewhere. What if? I mean, it was just what if, what if?
Kelsey Schelling grew up in the tiny farm town of Holyoke, Colorado.
Holyoke is around 2.5 to 3 hours away from Denver.
It's quiet. It's kind of have your own way.
Perfect place to raise a family.
Yeah, real good place. Yeah, safe. You're hoping anyway, you know.
Holyoke is definitely agricultural. There's only one stoplight, and if you want to go to a Walmart, you've got to head west to Sterling. That's 50 miles away.
In the early 90s, Kelsey's parents, Doug and Laura, owned the local grocery store in Holyoke. Kelsey and her brother Colby seemed to be living out the American dream. I first met Laura Saxton back in 2016 when 2020 was first looking into Kelsey's story.
You know, she's just always been a little firecracker. Hi, Cal. Hi, Cocoa Bean.
Kelsey. Cal.
She wasn't a kid that wanted to stay up till midnight, you know, where you usually have to fight your kids to go to bed like at 8:30. That's when she wanted to go to bed. She'd go into her room and pull back her covers, and each animal had to be in a certain place, and everything had to be just perfect.
When she got to be 2, 3, 4 years old, she was feisty. You'd try to give her a kiss and she'd slap me pretty good, so I kind of learned my lesson, you know.
My first impression of Kelsey, she was just an active, outdoors, fun-loving girl, liked to do a lot of sports. When my daughter and Kelsey first met up, their true love was playing basketball together.
I was her coach, yeah. Here she is right here.
Wow. She's the point guard?
Mm-hmm.
When we were still in elementary school, her dad took us out and let us drive on the dirt roads, which is pretty common around here. Kelsey could just laugh about things like that, and her laugh made us laugh. She'd start to giggle, then you would start to giggle, and so that's what made being around Kelsey so special.
Kelsey was a tiny little thing, you know, shorter than me.
The Kelsey that I knew didn't take a lot of crap off her classmates. You know, she wasn't afraid to stand her ground.
But as Kelsey enters her teens, the Schelling family is rocked when Doug and Laura decide to divorce.
Going through a divorce is really hard as a kid.
Yeah, the split of our parents certainly had an impact on both of us.
Colby.
Colby lived with me and Kelsey lived with her mom. It was a real dark time for the whole family.
It was a rough age. You know, after her dad and I got divorced, it was just she and I together alone for a lot of years.
She was in a bad emotional place, and I don't think that was due to her character and nature. I think that was circumstantial.
When Laura and I was going through a divorce, she was on antidepressant pills, and she ended up taking like 3 of them or something.
She ended up in the hospital for several days, and it was pretty scary. I mean, I thought we were going to lose her at that point.
She was in a coma?
She was.
I felt like it was a turning point. I mean, when any young school-age kid has parents who are splitting up, that's a lot to take on. She actually stopped doing all of the sports and activities. It seemed like she was more removed.
I think Kelsey was just she was looking for a change. She wanted to figure out what was her niche.
Kelsey was always, I think, working through, how do I be better? How do I grow? How do I move past this?
Our senior year, she was the prom queen. You don't get that without showing people kindness and respect and truly being embraced by your peers, you know.
Kelsey taught me, she taught me perseverance.
Eventually she moves on, she goes to Northeastern Junior College. What did she want to do with her life?
She wanted to get a degree in psychology. I think in her heart she wanted to work with children.
We officially became roommates January 2011. If all of us were bored at 3 o'clock in the morning, she'd be the one to say, let's go cause problems, I guess. Not bad problems, she was just, you know, out for a good time. She loved to have fun. That was her favorite thing to do.
And for a while, carefree Kelsey is back. And then she meets Dante Lucas. He's about to change her life forever.
It was a big deal that she was dating Dante. He was part of the basketball team. They were kind of the popular kids and everything. By the time Kelsey got to know him, she felt proud that she knew who he was because he was somebody to know.
He had dreams of making it big in the NBA.
Kelsey thought she met the man of her dreams.
Marker.
Please say your full name and give us your title.
Lisa Wayne, attorney at law. Well, I had the privilege of being down in Pueblo in the 80s, and I was a public defender. Pueblo's a small town in southern Colorado. Used to be a steel mill town. The steel mill shut down in the 80s.
Pueblo was founded and built by people that came from all over the world.
We're the home of the Pueblo chili. Everyone that lives there is so proud of this town.
Kelsey's love interest, Dante Lucas, lives in Pueblo. Sarah Lucas, Dante's mother, is raising all 4 kids on her own in this Colorado town set on what's called the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains. In the town of Pueblo, a 6'7" star athlete stands out.
I coached Dante Lucas in youth football. He was a coach's dream. He was a real polite kid, wanted to learn the game of football and just really quiet. Dante Lucas was super close with his mother, Sarah. On the football field, she was one of the most supportive parents. For Dante, football wasn't his sport. I'd say he's a better basketball player, which happened later in his career through high school here in Pueblo.
Dante Lucas was a very well-known basketball player. He was going to be the one who made it out of Pueblo.
He had dreams of making it big in the NBA.
It was obvious that he wanted to pursue it, but the family spoke more about it than he did. We were told by Dante's mom, Sarah, that he was getting contacted from North Carolina and Kentucky. Their dream was that he was going to make the NBA and make a good life for himself.
When I first met Dante, he was a freshman here at Central High School. He was 6'7". If you have that kind of size, you know, you can make a lot of things happen.
It just amazed me as a guy in class that was so quiet was just as popular as he was.
He was a really good role model for the young kids in the neighborhood.
His attitude was always good. He was good with his teammates. He just matured into a very good basketball player.
His overall drive as a student from day one, it wasn't up to snuff. As a teacher, I'd try to get him involved with the rest of the class. I talked to him about that several times.
Whether it was his grades or his skill, Dante didn't get into an NCAA school, but he wanted to continue to play basketball. Dante gets recruited to Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado. He's playing basketball when he meets Kelsey Schelling, and they begin dating.
Kelsey and another one of our roommates actually went to a basketball game and were scouting out the cute boys on the team, saw Dante and decided to go up and talk, and that's how she and Dante met. By the time Kelsey got to know him and really got kind of involved, she felt proud that she knew who he was because he was somebody to know. They spent a lot of their extra free time together.
When did you first meet him?
I never met him. I saw him play basketball a couple times.
Kelsey never really said anything about bringing him home to meet the parents.
He was not committed to her by any means.
Kelsey could have had anybody, but she kind of always took attraction to people that needed help, that she thought she could turn around.
I believe that if Dante was, failing or had bad grades, that his basketball career at the school would be definitely on pause. I don't honestly think that Dante really cared to learn. Kelsey would try to help him. He would just seem very disinterested and not really care.
I think she just hoped if she was good enough to him that, he would realize that, she's the one.
I think Kelsey stayed with Dante because she found someone that gave her attention even if it wasn't the right kind of attention. And I think Dante was with Kelsey because he got money from Kelsey, borrowed Kelsey's car, basically lived a life that everyone works for but didn't have to do anything for it. Just had to be there.
There were good days in the relationship with Dante, and then it just went south. He would play with her heart. I could definitely see some bubbliness fading out as he broke her spirit.
Kelsey texts Dante, "I'm really hurt. The way you talk about me to other people is your true feelings. I guess I'm just a fool. I'm so heartbroken." Days later, Dante would respond, "My phone's been dead the past few days."
And then afterwards she'd be like, oh, well, he's better, he's gonna be better. And then she'd be happy.
Dante left Northeastern Junior College because he was kind of done with his studies.
After Kelsey leaves Northeastern Junior College, she lands in California, but she doesn't stay there long. Why did she decide to leave?
Mostly it was financial reasons.
Where did she go from there?
That's when she moved back to Colorado, was living in Denver in her dad's apartment, and she had started working at Floor and Decor.
When did she start going out with Dante again?
Over the holiday time frame, November, December, he would stay with her, but then he'd go back to Pueblo sometime.
Were you worried that he would come back and what that would do to her?
Absolutely. I saw what it was like before, and I didn't want that to happen to her again. She didn't want that to happen to her again, because she knew the kind of person that she became when she was with him.
And how in the world did they get back together?
I don't know. She missed him, I guess.
Kelsey has a surprise for her family. She's pregnant.
She called me when she found out she was pregnant, and she was stressed, you know, very stressed. I could tell she was scared to tell me. Just told her, I will support you. It's going to be okay. She was happy.
Did she tell you anything about Dante's reaction?
She said he was mad.
She and Dante would be texting, and he would stop responding either during arguments that they were having. She would then get upset, wait to hear back from Dante, and left in limbo, and it was very aggravating for her.
Kelsey texted Dante, "You were my best friend. The only thing I lived for day after day. What happened to us? It wasn't supposed to be like this."
One time I'd talk to her and she'd say, you know, he's kind of coming around and Dante will never abandon the baby.
But a child with Kelsey was not in Dante's plans.
Kelsey gets a text from Dante, and he says that he has something for her. He alludes to a surprise, and he wants her to come to Pueblo.
Kelsey had come home. When she was here, she slept a lot. I knew it was hard on her working full-time in Denver. Now with the new pregnancy, she was really tired. I said, I will support you. Whether Dante is in the picture or not in the picture, it's going to be okay. She was happy. She wanted that baby. She wanted to be a mom.
She was in a good place.
Yes. So I'm thankful for those couple of days that we got before she went missing.
My name is Zach Hillstrom. I am a reporter at the Pueblo Chieftain. I think that people have been trying to fill in the blanks about what happened to Kelsey from the time that it happened, and not just when the mystery seemed like it might be a permanent one. On February 3rd of 2013, Dante Lucas, her boyfriend, was trying to convince Kelsey Schelling to come visit him in Pueblo that day. She responded with a firm no. It seems like they fought a lot that night. Just before 3 a.m., Kelsey texted Dante, "You don't have to be in a relationship with me. You don't have to marry me. You don't have to have a happy little family with me. You don't have an obligation to me. You're good. Don't worry. Good night." Lucas's response to that was, "Oh, I know all of that. Thanks for stating that for me."
So it was February 4th, and Kelsey had taken 3 home pregnancy tests. So she went into the doctor and had the doctor confirm to her that she was actually pregnant. She got the sonogram done. She even had the photo in hand of her sonogram. She was able to share that with her mom.
What did you think when you saw the baby?
I was happy. I knew that she was happy.
She showed up to work probably 10 minutes late. She just had her ultrasound. She's really excited. She was in a great mood that day.
That morning, Kelsey told Dante that she had finished her appointment and that her due date was September 13th. Lucas's response to that was cool. He asked her to skip work and come to Pueblo. She texted him, "I'm not going to come get you so we can fight all day." He texted back, "I don't want to fight at all. I want to give you this." She writes back, "Give me what?" He says, "Just wait and see for yourself. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you anyway, so you can see for yourself."
Kelsey decides to go down to Pueblo after work.
She clocked out of work at a little bit after 8:40 p.m. and hit the road to see Dante in Pueblo.
So Denver to Pueblo Drive, right down I-25. It's about 2 hours long. It's just one straight path. Not a lot of people are out on the roads. It is a lonely, quiet drive. While she's driving down to Pueblo, Dante sends her a text saying, "Let's meet at the Southside Walmart." She parks her car there.
She texted him at 10:20 saying she'd arrived, and he replied that he'd be there shortly.
She's waiting, and she's getting impatient, like any girlfriend would.
At 11:10 p.m., he still hadn't shown up to the Walmart.
That's when Dante says, "Let's meet at our spot," which is in the neighborhood of his grandmother's home, and that's where Dante was staying at the time. She moved her car there from the Southside Walmart. She was just parked on the side of the road in this residential neighborhood. So then she's left waiting there again, and she's still impatiently texting him.
The last confirmed message from Kelsey was sent at 11:18 p.m. She was asking Dante, "Where are you? I've been here for over an hour just waiting."
The following day, the 5th, she didn't show up for work. So I tried calling her, couldn't get a response. So then I shot her a text message asking her where she was, why she wasn't at work. Got a text message back right away saying that she was in the hospital having some tests done. And she said that she was not having a baby anymore, it was growing in the wrong place.
I tried calling her on Wednesday. She didn't answer her phone, which is kind of pretty rare. And then I texted her, I said, "Hey, give me a call." I got a text message back, said, "I'm not feeling good, I'm on the couch, I'll call you tomorrow."
I kept trying to call, and she wouldn't answer. Toward the end of the week, it was going directly to voicemail. So then, in the back of my mind, I'm starting to get concerned.
After Kelsey had driven to Pueblo, there was never a phone call that was answered from her phone.
Kelsey is not the type of person who would not talk to her friends. She was glued to her phone.
Friends and family would get text replies back, but they said that it came in a voice that just didn't quite sound like Kelsey. It was just short, quick responses.
Generally, any text message I had from Kelsey, words were spelled and there was punctuation, and they didn't have that.
I got to looking at the text message and it's like, man, I don't think that was her.
Why didn't you think that was her?
Just the verbiage in it and stuff. I mean, it just didn't seem like, her texting me.
Then on that Saturday morning, it's like the whole world just unraveled. All of her friends started contacting us saying, we've been trying to reach Kelsey and we can't reach her. I called Doug, her dad, and said, something is wrong. And so then we all drove up to Denver that day. Went into the apartment. There was no sign of her in the apartment. And that's when we called the Denver police.
Family members were visibly upset. They were frantic, actually, almost feverishly asking for any help they could get in trying to locate her.
Did you reach out to Dante?
And I did contact him to ask him, if he knew where she was.
What did he sound like on the phone? Because the call that you're making to him is, "Kelsey, the woman that you are with, the mother of your child, is missing. We are desperate to find her."
Nothing. No. Not worked up. Not, just...
He's not scared? What can I do? How can I help?
No, he just says, if I hear from her, I'll let you know. And then a little bit later, he got back with me. He said, "I heard from Kelsey. She called from a private number. She said she doesn't have her phone. And she said she'll be getting a hold of you."
Intimating that she's alive, she's out there.
And I said, "Well, can you track that number?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll try and figure out what the number was." And then, of course, he never did.
When this case first came in, I called Dante. He was telling me that he had seen her and had talked with her and spent time with her more recently than any of her family members, any of her friends. After I got off the phone, I did have a sinking feeling in my stomach. The following Friday, February 15th, that morning is when we drove down to Pueblo to turn the investigation over to the Pueblo Police Department.
We, in the beginning, were trying not to call him a suspect, just to try to build a rapport with him and try to sit down and get him to open up.
Can you kind of tell me just briefly what happened?
Well, Tuesday morning, early Tuesday morning, she came down to Pueblo.
During the course of the interrogation with Dante Lucas, he reveals some pretty shocking things about Kelsey and about the baby.
Now to the mysterious disappearance of a Denver woman.
Pregnant woman who vanished. Kelsey was 8 weeks pregnant, last seen in Pueblo, visiting her boyfriend Dante Lucas.
So when do you start talking to Dante Lucas?
We start talking to him fairly quickly as far as what is going on.
Police bring Dante in for questioning, and immediately he denies a romantic relationship with Kelsey.
Now, is she your girlfriend, or no?
We never were actually in a relationship.
Can you kind of tell me just briefly what happened?
She came down to Pueblo, and we're talking, whatever. She ended up, getting mad at me or whatever.
Dante tells Officer Robinson that Kelsey slept in her car in Pueblo.
He said that they met up again the following morning and that he brought Kelsey Schelling to Parkview Medical Center, where she went inside.
So went to Parkview, and she went in and stayed for about almost 2 hours, hour 45 too.
We have no record of Kelsey Schelling ever being here at Parkview Medical Center.
Now, what do you check to find out if she was here or not?
We have a medical records system that keeps track of every patient that's ever walked through our doors.
So for you, there was no way she's ever here?
That's correct. He alluded to the fact that she may have had a miscarriage.
She came out and she told me that she wasn't pregnant.
Just the day before in Denver, Kelsey's doctor told her that the baby was healthy.
So then after we left Parkview,
Dante claimed that he and Kelsey then went to the Southside Walmart. Kelsey was going to grab some snacks before she made the drive back to Denver.
She went to go get some snacks, like something to eat, because she was hungry. And then came back out, we ended up talking, and she ended up telling me, like, get out of the car at Walmart, and she didn't want to take me home. So I just left from Walmart, started walking home, and then my mom came and got me.
But surveillance video from Walmart reveals a different version of events.
He contends that the two of them are together, and clearly, based on the surveillance, it's one person. It's him getting out of the car, and no one else exits.
When the car was parked at Walmart on February 5th, police believe that it was Dante Lucas parking that car, getting out and walking away. They have pretty good surveillance video showing it.
The car sat there overnight.
The morning of February 6th, this unknown man is seen walking to Kelsey Schelling's car, parked at the Southside Walmart, and is seen driving away with the car. We have no idea who that person was in that video.
It's a car that that person is familiar with, and we know earlier that Dante had the key.
Who do you think that someone was that came back and drove that car away?
There's similarities to Dante, but it's nothing that we can 100% say that is the person who drove it away.
When Dante Lucas talked with police, he didn't paint the best picture of Kelsey. He painted a picture of, just that she was kind of troubled.
She had bad anxiety. She has anxiety attacks, so she had pills for that.
What can you tell me about that?
She's told me before that she's ended up in the hospital a few times from overdosing, I guess.
Dante cast her to police as someone who had troubles with drugs.
No.
No?
I don't believe that, no.
She just one time she told me about suicide, but she told me she ended up in the hospital behind it multiple times.
When she was 15 years old, she did. So yes, she has had that in her past. But if she committed suicide, you would find her body. I mean, she was happy. She wanted that baby. She wanted to be a mom.
So at this point, Kelsey has been missing for more than a week. But on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2013, her car is discovered.
The car of a missing Denver woman has been found in Pueblo.
Detectives will be examining Kelsey's car.
It was big news when Kelsey's car was found at St. Mary Corwin Medical Center. How did it get there? What happened to Kelsey?
I knew once her car was found that something horrible had happened, because there's just no way that she would have gone somewhere and left her car.
To find the car and no Kelsey.
And no Kelsey. We did not have any good security footage that could tell us who dropped off the car, how the car got there. Normally, if someone was going to go away for a few days, they'd take their car with them. So we are now leaning towards foul play. So we accelerate the case.
Police start working backwards. They start going through surveillance video, and what they find is pretty surprising. Less than 12 hours after she would have arrived in Pueblo, surveillance video shows Dante in her car at an ATM in Pueblo. He's driving and he takes $400 out of Kelsey's bank account.
But is it suspicious for you that he uses that card after the date where you pinpoint Kelsey was missing?
It is part of the suspicious activity, yes.
Because Dante withdraws money from Kelsey's account without her in the car, Dante is brought in for a second time by Pueblo police.
This is the second time I talked to you.
These detectives had a wealth of information to go at him.
Why'd you get the money?
The money? What money are we talking about?
11:39 at the bank. You're on video, dude. In her car with her credit card. You're on tape.
Yo, this for the 400 that you're talking about? This is for my phone bill.
Why didn't she go with you to the ATM? It's not in the car. It's on the video.
It may have been while she was over the hospital. Honestly, I'm not sure about the, like I said, like my time frame has been messed up.
The detective moves on to another topic, talking about why there's no record of Kelsey ever showing up at the hospital.
There's no record of her ever being at Parkview.
That's like all I have to say.
Now here's the thing. Instead of pressing Dante on these contradictions, they move on to an unrelated topic.
When you dropped her off, when she dropped you off at Walmart, where were you parked at?
I mean, like, apparently you guys know, so, like, I don't understand why you, like, I told him one time, like, that's all I can say about it.
When she dropped you off, when was that again?
Can I speak to a lawyer, please? So if you guys just keep asking the same questions over and over, and, like, I was like, speak to a lawyer.
Once he requests a lawyer, all questions come to a halt.
Unfortunately, this is a very poorly executed interview. I think it's a tremendous missed opportunity.
Once he shut down, our avenues of trying to talk to him end.
How did you read that?
As the possibility that he knows something.
Dante Lucas was arrested on February 15th. They don't arrest him on murder charges. He was arrested on felony identity theft charges for using Kelsey's debit card at the bank that day.
But those charges were later dropped when investigators found out that Kelsey did, on occasion, give him permission to use her bank card.
How do you prove she did not or did give him permission at that time? And since you had permission to do it before, it makes it a very difficult case to prosecute.
He's released. He's, living his life.
Do we suspect foul play? Yes. Have we come up with a body? No. Dante is a person of interest in the fact that she's missing.
Hoping to get Dante to talk, police bring in the person who knows him better than anyone.
Mysterious disappearance.
And the disappearance of Kelsey
was found in Pueblo. Kelsey hadn't been found. Police, maintained at that time that it was a missing persons case.
When the charges of identity theft are dropped in March of 2013, police can't get Dante to talk again.
You'll have a chair right there. I'll grab your water and we'll be back in a second.
So they take a different tact. They decide to speak to his mother, Sarah Lucas.
I would love to clear Dante and move on. If Dante would come in, do a polygraph, we ask him like 5 questions. If he passes that, we can move on and look other directions.
I will relay that to his lawyer, and I know my son wants nothing more than to find out what happened to her.
Detectives ask her about February 5th. That's the day that Dante was seen on surveillance camera parking Kelsey's car at Walmart.
Did you in fact pick Dante up?
I did pick my son up.
At that time, did you see Kelsey? Was she with him, or?
No, she wasn't with him then.
Do you know where she was?
Yeah.
Sarah gives Dante an alibi for his whereabouts on February 6th, when that unknown man is seen moving Kelsey's car from the Walmart.
On the 6th, Dante, or somebody that looks remarkably similar to Dante, I'm not going to say 100% was him, but went back and picked it up.
There's no way that was him. There's no way he was at home. I know my son. He's not capable of hurting anybody.
But it's been 3 years since this case happened. No one's been charged.
That's right. You have inconsistencies, lies, but without a body or any direct evidence that tells us something happened to her, to a homicide, you know, it may happen one day, but right now it's, you know, we haven't had any evidence to reclassify it.
You look at the Pueblo Police Department, they probably didn't have as many resources, and her family quickly became frustrated with how this investigation was progressing, or kind of the lack thereof any progress.
Kelsey's still not a victim, according to them. There's not been a criminal act committed, according to them. We just want an effective investigation done into Kelsey's disappearance.
Her family is pleading for your help.
We're doing everything in our power to find our missing loved one.
We tried to push Pueblo police for answers. We were there for every press conference, every event. We just weren't getting any new information from them at all. And to me, that was so frustrating.
The investigation really isn't being handled properly.
Laura Saxton always been a fierce advocate for her daughter, and I don't think she'll rest until Kelsey is found.
Many in Pueblo are not giving up on finding clues that could help find Kelsey Schelling.
Why do you think people feel so strongly about Kelsey's case?
You know, they can't believe it. You know, they try and imagine what if it was their child.
We're gonna break up again. Over here.
In May of that year when she went missing, they started doing their own searches because they didn't think police were looking hard enough.
The whole community was rallying. There were so many searches for her body all over the city of Pueblo.
This is probably one of the largest groups we've had in a while. After 3 years, that means a lot, so thank you.
Come on, kid.
People were scattering, just looking for any shred of evidence.
It's becoming harder to come back. I dread the trips, but I know I have to do it.
She comes home empty-handed. The one thing that she doesn't have is Kelsey.
They never found anything on those searches. Then those searches turned into anniversaries.
Kelsey Schelling disappeared 4 years ago this month.
And Kelsey's mother believes police are now closer than ever to finding her.
That turned into justice walks.
What do we want? Justice!
Around the Pueblo Police Department and the District Attorney's Office.
We appreciate you all so much. Your support keeps us going.
To put pressure on our system to do something here.
We're going to keep going. We're going to keep coming up with ideas. I mean, we're trying everything.
Kelsey's family offers a $50,000 reward for information.
So you feel like you're doing everything you can, even to this day, to find out what happened with Kelsey?
Yes. There is no lead we don't follow up. We followed up leads from psychics that call in. Well, they've had a vision on where Kelsey is, and we followed up those leads.
In an effort to get some more information, hopefully some tips and leads in the case, Kelsey's family also set up a Facebook page, Help Find Kelsey.
It was one source or one place where people could come together to generate information, maybe from even people that didn't want to call police.
You get a Facebook message.
It was from a woman saying, if I have information about Kelsey, can I remain anonymous? It's so awful He sold her into sex trafficking. I almost feel like I went insane. What if she is still out there somewhere?
We were on the ground to investigate, and I couldn't believe what happened. Right when they're at the trunk, get ready. It's Ryan Smith, ABC News. They were meeting in a parking lot.
Dante sends her a text saying, let's meet at the Southside Walmart. And she parks her car there.
The car sat there overnight.
This unknown man is seen walking to Kelsey Schelling's car and is seen driving away with the car.
And Kelsey's just gone.
Kelsey had taken 3 home pregnancy tests.
Now, is she your girlfriend or no? We never were actually in a relationship.
The lead suspect stops talking.
Can I speak to a lawyer, please?
It's a dead end.
These are the stories that keep us up at night.
But an undercover volunteer befriends him.
I had to play the role that I didn't know what was happening, so I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, what is happening?
Okay, they're both rolling now. There's a sting operation. Right when they're at the trunk, get ready. We're about 10 seconds away. Marcus Ryan Smith, ABC News. How you doing?
I know that my testimony could potentially help take him down.
The anxiety level was high, the tension was high.
A witness in the Dante Lucas trial
was found shot to death. Another moment where your jaw hit the floor.
When they came and told us the verdict was in, we all were just like, oh my God.
Her mother simply won't give up on finding Kelsey. For nearly 2 years, Laura Saxton had been on a desperate search for answers about her daughter Kelsey, who suddenly disappeared in February of 2013.
There will be a renewed search for clues in the case of Kelsey Schelling.
Just through seeing Laura Saxton, the tears, the sadness, the frustration, it all came, rolling out.
Many in Pueblo are not giving up on finding clues that could help find Kelsey Schelling.
The relentlessness of this mother's search really struck a chord with so many people in Pueblo. Scores of locals turned out to help Laura search all around the Pueblo area for any trace of Kelsey.
Over here on this other hike in 2 more groups.
The ride home is always really tough, going home empty-handed, emotionally and physically.
Is it hard to keep hope?
As far as the hope of actually finding her, that dwindles, every day.
But then, in October of 2015, nearly 2 years after Kelsey's disappearance, there's a shocking development. A mysterious message giving Laura hope comes through the Help Find Kelsey Facebook page. That's the page that Laura had set up to gather tips and leads on the case.
It was saying, if I have information about Kelsey, can I remain anonymous?
When Laura responds, a man emails her saying, "Ma'am, please, your daughter is not dead. She will be back home alive." The man offers a harrowing account of what really happened to Kelsey. He claims that Dante hired a friend to kill her and says Dante has no idea she is alive. He thinks she is dead.
And that the friend did not kill her. He sold her into sex trafficking. It made me sick. I mean, I could barely function. What if she is still out there somewhere?
The emailer says he needs money to help Kelsey escape. $50,000 in cash. So the plan is this. The money is to be brought to Vancouver, Washington, specifically to a local McDonald's restaurant. Then it's to be hand-delivered to a guy named Marcus, who would be wearing a red hat.
Once the money was exchanged, then this courier person would go and get Kelsey and bring her back to the McDonald's. I'll have to sell some stocks, which will take about a week, but I can push to expedite that process. I just thought, what if she's been out there and I could have found her and we haven't. I mean, it was just what if?
Laura sets up the meeting at the McDonald's in Vancouver to deliver the cash. But even though she's desperate for answers, she's worried that something criminal is going on. So she reaches out to the Vancouver police and asks them to go undercover to meet this courier.
It felt like law enforcement from Vancouver should have been involved in the situation.
But just before the appointed time, the Vancouver police back out, believing it to be an internet scam and not an actual human trafficking plot. But 2020 had the McDonald's under surveillance to see if anyone would show up. Our cameras are rolling as a man with a red hat comes in.
That's him.
He sits quietly. But after no one shows up, he takes off.
Okay, you gotta move. Cut the engine.
Weird, eerie to see that they actually were, going through with this.
She's gone.
It was just all a matter of trying to get down to the truth of this.
As I was investigating this mysterious email, a contact of mine told me about another missing woman's case that proved to be the key to unraveling this mystery. In Portsmouth, Ohio, 1,200 miles away from Colorado, Megan Lancaster, 25 years old, has also suddenly disappeared.
Katie Lancaster is on a mission to help find her sister-in-law.
I mean, she's gone without a trace. We have her car and her wallet.
An eerie feeling like there's something, like we're gonna find something.
Months go by with no developments. Megan's family organizes searches and sets up a Facebook page to publicize the case.
And then, out of nowhere, he pops up.
A startling message comes through the family's Facebook page about Megan.
He says, I know where Megan is, and I can get her back.
Just like with Kelsey's family, the emailer says he can help Megan escape, but he needs money, $50,000. He directs them to bring $25,000 in cash up front to Vancouver, Washington, specifically to that same McDonald's, and deliver it to a man named Marcus, wearing, no surprise, a red hat.
What if he really does have her, and I can bring her home?
You should stick with the crew, behind the camera, with the crew.
To unravel just what's going on with this mystery, Katie agreed to work with 2020 to set up a sting operation.
Katie and I are going to be in one vehicle.
Just like Laura did 2 weeks earlier, she arranges a meeting to drop off the money in Vancouver at that McDonald's.
There are booths over here.
Katie, you said this morning that they sent you a text message.
They will be sending Marcus.
Okay, they're both rolling now. I would be going to this rendezvous with Katie, but wearing a hidden camera. As we walk into the McDonald's at the appointed meet time, we quickly spot Marcus, the man in the red hat, and walk over to him. Katie was instructed not to ask any questions, so I told Marcus, hey, the money is in the trunk of a car parked outside.
Right when they're at the trunk, get ready. We're about 10 seconds away.
Meanwhile, I was waiting outside with our camera team and a security guard in case this thing went sideways.
Okay, let's get ready.
As they head out to the parking lot, before the trunk is open, I walk over to Marcus. I want to get some answers.
Marcus, Ryan Smith, ABC News. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Why'd you come here to take $25,000 from Katie?
I don't know.
You don't know why you're here to take $25,000 from Katie?
Nope.
What are you here for?
Oh, because to collect some money.
You see, Marcus claims he was suckered too, lured online into a supposed jewelry venture. He says he was supposed to pick up the money and then wire it to someone he's never met.
So a random guy tells you to go to a McDonald's twice in less than 2 weeks to meet people to pick up money, and you don't think anything of it?
I didn't think none of it.
We were told that you were going to deliver Megan to Katie today. Is that true?
I have no idea about no Megan or no kidnapping or anything like that.
This would be a scheme to extort money from families who have family members that are missing.
I didn't know nothing of this. I had no clue anybody was supposed to be exchanging nothing for a human being. If I did know, I would not have been involved in this situation.
So you've been here twice, coming to pick up money at a McDonald's. Your name is attached to this.
Just feel shaky inside.
I had no clue.
It's important that you be real honest with me.
Yeah, I'm real honest.
You have never heard of Kelsey Shelley?
Never.
Definitely a big scam. I want to know who's behind it.
But an FBI analysis of the emailer's Facebook page showed it used an IP address traced all the way to Russia.
In most scams, they're compartmentalized. So the person you may send to pick up the cash at a particular location may know nothing about what the scam is.
Then that's just 100% clarification that, this is some dirtbags out there, trying to get money off of these poor families.
But while the extortion plot that was torturing Laura was laid to rest, the roller coaster ride wasn't over. A sympathetic stranger who feels for Laura comes up with a shocking plan to go undercover on her own and befriend Dante to try to find the truth about what happened to Kelsey.
I knew that I was potentially putting myself into danger.
Dante Lucas?
And when we go to get some answers from Dante, she was right there with him.
What do you have to say to her family?
Even though Laura Saxton lives hundreds of miles away from Pueblo, Colorado, the news about her years-long crusade to find her missing daughter continued to resonate with folks living there.
Our top story tonight, the search for Kelsey Schelling. Today, law enforcement following new leads in the case.
We're going to keep coming up with ideas. I mean, we're trying everything.
I felt really heartbroken for her. As a mom, I couldn't even begin to fathom knowing that your child's out there.
It's spring of 2016 when Lauren Shore, a single mom living near Pueblo, says Laura's story inspired her to hatch an audacious plan of her own. Make Facebook friends with Dante Lucas, gain his trust, and meet up with him in real life, and just maybe help solve the mystery of what happened to Kelsey.
Definitely was nerve-wracking, but I felt like I could do it. So I had messaged him on Facebook, and I told him that I was looking to meet new friends. He responded fairly quickly, within, I say, a couple of hours.
Lauren was eventually able to get Dante to meet her in person. When we shot this footage of Dante playing basketball in 2016, Lauren was there with him. She says it was only the second time they'd ever met.
We had went to a basketball court to just play around, shoot some hoops, and that's when a man with a camera came up to us.
Dante Lucas, I'm with ABC News 2020. The family of Kelsey says you're responsible for her disappearance. Is that true?
Who's Kelsey? I freaked out. I had to play the role that I didn't know what was happening. So I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, what is happening?
What's happening right now?
And he kind of just shut down and was like, I'll tell you about it later on. Don't freak out. It's okay. None of this is true.
As the weeks go by, Lauren says she's able to develop a close relationship with Dante.
We just hang around the family, watch movies, drink a little bit. He always smelt of alcohol. He comes off as very cocky, I feel like. He feels like he's just the man, and he can't do no wrong.
Just as she'd planned, Lauren says she got Dante to open up, to trust her enough. The time finally seemed right to ask him about Kelsey.
There was only a certain amount of period of time that he would talk about it. 1 minute he had no involvement, he had nothing to do with it, and then he would just shut down and start crying hysterically and get really upset.
But Lauren says something very unexpected happened with Dante. Her undercover relationship with him blossomed into romance.
I felt like he did genuinely develop feelings for me and did genuinely fall in love with me. He has this way about him that makes you just feel so sorry for him. In the back of my mind, I always kept that he is potentially a murderer.
Lauren says her relationship with Dante continued for about a year, but then something happened. There was an incident outside his house that made her realize she was in way over her head.
He's like, I want you to marry me. And he showed me the ring. I took the ring. At that point, I was kind of like done, because I didn't want to get in any deeper than I had already gotten into.
Despite all the efforts of this clandestine girlfriend, her work doesn't seem to be paying off, and the clock just keeps ticking for Laura Saxton. she's not any closer to knowing the truth about what happened to Kelsey.
I wasn't happy at all with how things were going, and I mean, that's one big reason why I wanted to do the first story with you guys. Was I was hoping that that would somehow bring something out into the light.
Tonight on 2020, when do you stop looking for a pregnant daughter who's vanished?
In May of 2016, our first 2020 program on the Kelsey Schelling case hits the airwaves. The very day of our broadcast, there's a big announcement regarding the investigation into Kelsey's disappearance. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation was going to join the case.
That was news to me, so I was kind of like, oh my God, this is awesome.
I think once that 2020 special aired, it really turned up the heat on Pueblo police and on this case.
Taking over the case, Pueblo Police Department Commander Eric Bravo and CBI agent Kevin Torres. Working together, they move fast, turning it from a missing persons case into a full-blown criminal investigation.
It was a homicide investigation in our eyes, so I immediately started working on setting a plan into motion how we wanted to proceed.
Police got a tip that led them to believe Schelling's body might be in Dante's backyard.
It's not long before police dig up the yard of the house where Dante and his family had been staying.
So we thought, man, you know, we really have something. But it went from elation to satisfaction. You know, that day it just seemed like we were there, and then it slipped away.
During the investigation, Agent Torres finds out about Dante's relationship with Lawrence Shore. When he interviews Shore, she reveals that Dante had made a key admission to her about Kelsey's disappearance. And it's about that Walmart surveillance video of the mystery man walking over to her car and then driving off with it.
She confirmed for us, Dante admitting it was him in the Walmart surveillance video. She also informed us that Dante admitted to her dropping Kelsey's car off at St. Mary Corwin Hospital. The piece of information that Lauren provided to us was a pretty crucial piece at that point.
Then, in late 2017, there's a huge development that will totally transform the case. A Pueblo man tells police that Dante and other family members had attacked him in front of their home and stolen $1,000 from him. Now that gives police a reason to arrest Dante.
I had information that Dante was leaving Pueblo and was heading to DIA, where he seemingly intended to board a flight to Tucson. And the concern was that he may take other efforts to meet friends in Mexico.
Boy, the anxiety level was high, the tension was high.
The time was ticking away, and the tires were turning on the road. And Dante was within 20 minutes of getting on a plane for Tucson, Arizona, when he was arrested.
When he was arrested, there was hope across the community that maybe investigators would finally get some answers in this case.
We decided that the next day would be the day that we would send a couple detectives back in to try and answer some of the questions that we didn't have answered.
During his interrogation, Dante finally breaks down and comes clean, confirming Lawrence Shore's account that he was the one seen in that Walmart video.
So that information that he confirmed that that was him was huge.
You see, it was that admission, combined with the wealth of evidence from text messages, cell phone records, and surveillance video already gathered, all of that was enough for prosecutors to move forward.
At the end of the day, I said, I think we have enough here to go forward. I ethically believe that Dante Lucas killed Kelsey Schelling, and I think we have the evidence to prove it.
A major development, the ex-boyfriend of a pregnant Denver woman who went missing 4 years ago.
He now faces charges of first-degree murder.
How are you thinking as his trial approached? Are you thinking justice will be done?
I put a lot of things on hold because I just was, sure it was going to happen and, wanted to be ready to go.
So after 8 years, Dante Lucas is finally in court, and the prosecution has a surprise witness.
That just took the whole room's breath away. No one saw that coming. This story became such a big deal here in Pueblo because people want answers and they haven't gotten any for 8 years.
Dante Lucas, the Pueblo man accused of murdering his pregnant ex-girlfriend Kelsey Schelling nearly 8 years ago, is headed to trial tomorrow.
Did I think it was going to be a tough case? Absolutely. And we may not win it. but I owe it to the family. I think I owe it to Kelsey to go forward and try this case.
KRDO News Channel 13's Dan Beatty has been following this case and the trial for more than 2 years.
I was anticipating there to just be a mad rush of reporters who were going to try to get into the courtroom. I was very worried that I might not even get a seat. You could feel the anticipation. When I saw Laura Saxton walk into the judicial building, you could tell this was a day she's been waiting for a long time.
Denver 7's Liz Gilardi in Pueblo today for opening statements. Liz, you have been with this case every step of the way now for all these years.
The prosecution simply started out and they said, this is not a missing persons case. This is a homicide case.
The case that the prosecution was making right off the jump was, one, they were going to prove through text messages and surveillance video that Dante Lucas has to be the one responsible for Kelsey Schelling's death.
These were two people in a relationship. Kelsey Schelling became pregnant. Dante Lucas didn't want to have a baby. And he made sure that didn't happen.
I know that she had mentioned Kelsey Schelling's Chevy Cruze.
The prosecution said this car tells a story, and they told the jurors that you will see Dante Lucas moving this car around Pueblo in the days after she went missing.
The idea that someone can essentially disappear without a trace, I think, is kind of a counterintuitive thought for people to have.
Prosecutors think there's enough evidence to convict Lucas even without a body, but the defense disagrees.
In the opening statements, the defense said this is a missing persons case. This has always been a missing persons case. They said there's no body, there's no evidence. Why should you believe that Dante Lucas killed her?
They do not have a crime scene. They do not have a murder weapon.
Today, the jury got a detailed look at some of the text messages exchanged between them.
For the prosecutors, their goal was to show that those text messages showed intent, showed that Dante Lucas consistently lied, not only to investigators, but to Laura Saxton herself.
What they refer to as his luring of Kelsey Schelling to Pueblo.
The prosecution say that he lured her there to end her life.
We know that that's his phone. He admitted to those text messages. We know that that's his thoughts and feelings about it. That's direct evidence.
And the movements of their phones as well, as they were pinging off cell phone towers in Pueblo on the night of February 4th and the early morning hours of February 5th. I think that a lot of the case really centered around those movements.
Two pivotal witnesses testified in the high-profile Pueblo murder case against Dante Lucas.
First witness was Laura Saxton, and we were not expecting Laura Saxton to be the first one to take the stand. She didn't break down, but you can tell she's hurting. There's a lot of pain behind her voice.
I think that was really powerful for the jury to see. Her mom spoke to the fact that she absolutely wanted this baby.
Prosecutors today painted Kelsey Schelling as an excited mother-to-be, desperate to make it work with her boyfriend.
It didn't take long for the prosecutors to swing for the fences, calling some pretty shocking witnesses to the stand.
Ryan Rivera is a former Pueblo County inmate who considered himself to be a friend of Dante Lucas.
And when he took the stand, he said that Dante Lucas told him that they're never going to find Kelsey Schelling's body. That just took the whole room's breath away.
Ryan Rivera, he was the only person who came forward over the duration of this trial that really said, Dante told me he did this.
I wasn't in the courtroom, but well, jailhouse snitch on its face is just not credible. I mean, that's the assumption that we believe jurors have, and it's the assumption we have as defense lawyers. Why would this person do it? What's the benefit? What's the motive?
There was no deals made about charges he would get to plead to, time he would get to serve. There was no deals like that.
There were a lot of names on the prosecutor's list that I was shocked by, but Sarah Lucas certainly topped that list.
When you saw that Sarah Lucas was on the prosecution's side, everyone wondered, what is she going to say?
The one important thing that I've kind of mentioned, she confirmed, that Dante was the last person left alone with Kelsey.
The prosecution painted a picture of a troubled relationship.
Some of Kelsey's close friends testified. They pointed toward elements of domestic abuse in Kelsey and Dante's relationship.
Something worth pointing out was the prosecution and even the defense made it clear that Dante was using Kelsey for a number of things. For her money, Dante used Kelsey for her apartment in Denver, and Dante used Kelsey for her car. And his argument was, she lets me do it. The defense pushed the narrative that Kelsey Schelling popped pills, was an addict, that Kelsey, when she left Dante Lucas at the Southside Walmart here in Pueblo, that she was going to meet up with a drug dealer.
There's no single person, other than the defendant in 2017, who's saying that she was into drugs and that she was a party girl.
You didn't have the forensic evidence. It seemed like you were really relying on circumstantial evidence and the evidence of snitches and these other witnesses. That's pretty straightforward. Either you believe them or you don't.
The witness list yields more surprises. The ones who make it to court.
I know that my testimony could potentially help take him down.
And the ones who didn't.
Witness 31-year-old Roxanne Martinez was found shot to death.
That was a completely unforeseen development in this case.
Breaking on Denver 7, a key witness in the Kelsey Schelling murder trial found dead.
That witness, 31-year-old Roxanne Martinez, was found shot to death in Denver last week.
These are still very stunning developments.
Roxanne Martinez, a witness for the prosecution, was set to testify soon.
That was just an absolutely, completely unforeseen development in this case. People were reeling when that news broke.
Denver police officers were called to a residential area in southeast Denver on a report of an unresponsive female who was lying in the roadway. We determined that that individual had been shot one time and died from that injury.
Her dad is in shock, her mom, her stepmom. It's just tragic all the way around.
I think when a witness in any major case turns up dead directly before they're set to testify, I think, of course, people are going to think, was she killed because she was going to testify?
Denver police arrested a suspect in Martinez's killing, 29-year-old Emmanuel Chandler. Chandler has been charged with first-degree murder, but he hasn't entered a plea yet.
We don't have any connection between Mr. Chandler and Mr. Lucas or anybody associated with that trial.
Our concern was to make sure that people understood that while she was an endorsed witness, I couldn't comment on her testimony.
Nobody knows what Roxanne Martinez was going to say on the stand for sure, with the exception of maybe the investigators who talked to her.
But while prosecutors say they can't discuss what Roxanne Martinez would have said on the stand, 2020 has uncovered some revealing details about her. You see, back in March of 2016, a woman named Roxanne had reached out to Laura Saxton through that Help Find Kelsey Facebook page. Roxanne messaged that she used to date the guy Kelsey was pregnant with, and he told me what had happened and started crying.
I'm instantly like mixed emotions, like, okay, are you going for the reward, or, you know, are you for real?
When Laura asked, do you know where Kelsey is located? Roxanne replied, he told me everything. Yes, I do.
Basically, her information sounded very good and very promising, and so we really wanted to meet with her.
This mysterious woman agreed to meet Laura and her husband at a Mexican restaurant in Denver.
We were actually on our way there, and I tried to reach her by phone to let her know we were coming. She said that she was in the hospital and couldn't meet us. That was kind of the extent of what I really remember. And then, you know, past that, then, you know, that was all turned over to law enforcement to look into further.
Authorities say that woman was the same Roxanne who was killed during the trial.
I can confirm that CBI followed up and interviewed her, that we did have her as an endorsed witness that we wanted to testify during trial. The thing that I'm steering clear from is I just don't want to talk about evidence that wasn't actually admitted during trial.
Martinez's killing shakes up the trial and threatens to overshadow the testimony of another prosecution witness who had a remarkable story to tell. It's none other than Lauren Shore, that woman who befriended Dante as part of a plan to try to find out what happened to Kelsey.
I know that my testimony could potentially help take him down, and that was realistically why I wanted to testify.
Shore testifies about Dante's critical admission to her, that he was the mysterious figure seen picking up Kelsey's car after it sat overnight in a Walmart parking lot.
I said, so that must have meant that you had dropped the car off at the hospital, correct? And that's when he said, yes, that was him that dropped the car off.
When the defense cross-examined Shore, they attack her credibility and her motives, at one point characterizing her as a sex informant because she had a physical relationship with Dante.
It's fair game, and if you're going to put yourself out there like she did and sleep with someone, the jury ought to know about that. You're having intimate conversations, and that cast a lot of suspicion on her as a witness.
The sex informant part really bothered me because I wasn't having sex with Dante to get answers out of him. I was playing my part in a role as girlfriend. So to me, to be called such was really degrading.
On the very last day of its case, the prosecution played an interrogation video of Dante confirming Shore's account.
The clip that I played at the beginning of my closing was his phrase to detectives, "I lied from the jump. I moved the car." I wanted the jury to hear the defendant in his own words say, "I lied."
When it's the defense's turn to present its case, they raise a lot of eyebrows in court.
The defense didn't call a single witness to the stand. The defense immediately rested their case. And it was just another moment where your jaw hit the floor.
The burden of proof is on the government. It's simply messaging in a very strong way to the jury, they haven't done it. It's not guilty. So it's a strong message.
There was just really not a lot of hard forensic evidence to go off of. So as far as, what evidence they put forth to court that was irrefutable, that Dante Lucas killed Kelsey Schelling, I never saw that.
After a shocking final day of the trial, the jury was going to deliberate, and I had no idea what was going to happen at that point.
I think everybody was just like holding their breath.
Prosecution and defense have given closing arguments. The jury is now deliberating.
Well, on that last day of the trial, no one expected to get a verdict that day.
So now the waiting begins.
Yes. And I was prepared to camp out at the courthouse as long as I had to. I really thought I would be there all week, and we're really totally unprepared for when they came and told us the verdict was in. I think we all were just like, oh my God.
I mean, it was shocking how quickly they arrived at their decision, especially given just the amount of information they had to look at.
I can tell you, because the decision came back so early, all of our experience as prosecutors is that this was probably an acquittal, because juries tend to come to decisions more quickly on acquittals than convictions.
It was like standing on the precipice of a cliff and looking down. It was scary.
It was a very tense atmosphere in the courthouse while everyone was waiting to hear what the verdict was.
Even I was nervous, and I'm not affiliated with Kelsey Schelling's family at all.
People were wondering, does that mean Dante Lucas is going to walk?
I think everybody was just like holding their breath almost.
And then, when you hear the verdict, tell me how you're feeling.
Well, the words came out way too slow. Like, I feel like the judge was talking in slow-mo, even though he wasn't. I mean, I was just like, every word, it's like, okay, spit it out, please. And then he finally got to, guilty of first degree. And I think that was the first breath, like, I had taken in a long time.
This is a guilty verdict 8 years in the making, and even though Kelsey Schelling's body has never been found, the jury clearly felt there was enough evidence to convict the man her family has always suspected from.
Less than 3 hours to find Dante Luke is guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
It was just so emotional for everybody, for both sides. It's a sad story. It's a sad situation that didn't have to end up like this if he had just let her come home.
You mentioned it was a lot of emotions for both sides. Did you find yourself looking over at their side?
Dante was sitting right in front of me. I looked at the back of his head through the whole trial. But, you know, the mother of his child was there, and she broke down, and honestly, my heart hurt for her, hurt for their child, because it didn't have to end up this way.
Ryan Rivera's testimony was the biggest bombshell for our trial. It had moved us all. I could hear the gasps even in the masks of fellow jurors.
When it came out that he was convicted, I think there was a great feeling of satisfaction and relief, not elation. You know, you have to look at it from this side too. Mr. Lucas is a young man, and he was convicted of a criminal crime that shapes his life for however long he lives. I think it's every parent's worst nightmare that a child goes before you, and you can never fully heal that wound. I can tell you, I almost lost a child in the early 80s. And so I had a lot of sympathy with Laura and her family because I came that close to that tragedy. And that child was the lead prosecutor on this case.
So the elected DA is my dad, and Kyle McCarthy, who was obviously on the case with me, is my husband. And we, I don't think, had a night in the last 4 years that we haven't gone home and talked about Kelsey Schelling. Sometimes it's the first thing we talk about when we wake up. Sometimes it's the last thing we talk about before we go to sleep.
On Saturdays when we're driving kids around to soccer, a lot of times we're being told to stop talking about it because they can hear us in the front seat talking about it.
We both also had, and I mean, an incredible emotional pull to the family. That is a very special relationship, one that I will value for the rest of my life.
Well, I think, I mean, Michelle and Kyle with their closing, they're amazing. I don't even know what other words to use.
The first things that she told the reporters outside of the courthouse after the guilty verdict, yes, she was happy, but she was still devastated.
So we're very, very thankful for this outcome. But in the end, I didn't get Kelsey back. And that's what I wanted more than anything. So I feel like I didn't do something, I didn't push hard enough on something, or I didn't look enough on something to bring her home.
That devastation isn't going anywhere. Like she said, she has to live with that forever.
Her goal throughout all of this was to bring Kelsey home, give her a proper burial. So I know she had expressed that in some ways she felt like she had failed in her main mission.
I think the investigative team has some ideas where she may rest.
If that's where she is, that's just like the worst possibility to me.
That very first day that we met in September of 2016. I'll never forget it like it was yesterday, and it was just a special bond that we formed.
Kelsey's mom just battled and battled and battled.
8 years, I was hoping that it would never take this long. I grabbed my mother very tight and held her very close, held on to my dad's hands.
Since the trial's over, it's because And Kelsey still hasn't been found. So, but yeah, I've just felt very empty this past week.
Doesn't feel final because still don't know where Kelsey is, and we still don't know exactly what happened.
It turns out that prosecutors did present troubling evidence from the night Kelsey disappeared. That evidence provided a possible explanation to where her body could be.
We received information from the Pueblo landfill that there was some video evidence of a vehicle being there. You couldn't see what kind of vehicle. You couldn't tell who was in the car. Their lock to their front gate into the dump had been tampered with.
Well, it caught my attention when I grabbed the lock on my hand, and I said, well, somebody tried to get in here overnight.
The cell phone records, the pings were all out in that area. So, we suspected that's what happened.
If you heard the testimony of the landfill expert, it would be next to impossible to just find a body just by conducting a search of the landfill.
Who wants that for their child to be the final resting place? No one.
We want to bring her justice and bring her home with us, her and Kadri both. Kadri, that was the name that she was going to give the child.
I'm never going to recover without getting her back. And so I still have nowhere to go to take her flowers, to go sit and talk with her, take her balloons on her birthday, go to see her on the holidays.
Hi, Cal. Hi, Coco Bean.
How do you want her to be remembered?
A little girl with a really big heart, a really big smile, a really big laugh, beautiful eyes, silly. She was so silly. I miss being silly with her. I miss all the things that we didn't get to do together.
We've been covering this story for more than 5 years now, and as you can see, the heartbreak never really stops for Kelsey's mom and the entire Schelling family.
And Dante Lucas's defense team declined to comment for